Today, let's talk about 10 books that we love.
Hi, well, thanks for having me. I love talking about parenting. It's definitely a topic that is close to my heart. I was not raised in a Christian home, so when Ryan and I were ready to start having kids, first thing I did was pray, and then I started reading books. So I'm excited to share with you our top 10 list for raising kids. You know, we are not perfect parents. There are no perfect parents, but what we are is intentional. So we work really hard to be intentional with our kids. So should we jump in?
Yep, let's jump in. Number one book, we're going to say the Bible.
The Bible.
The Bible, the best book in the world, the truth that you need. And by the way, we're doing a series a Thursday at noon, 10 Commandments and how that relates to parenting. So if you want to join us on Facebook, I'll be doing that with Pastor Craig Nelson. Yeah.
Okay, so the Jesus Storybook Bible is great. If you have grandkids, this is a great book for grandkids too. The tagline is, every story whispers his name. So I love how this Bible points to Jesus even in the Old Testament stories. It's got great art and illustrations all through the book. It's recommended for ages 3 to 9, and it's great for bedtime stories.
We will say that many men have come to us and told us, especially the dads that were maybe disconnected from the local church, they come up and they whisper things like, hey, Pastor Ryan, thanks for that book. I've learned so much about the Bible through that little book. Because it helps. I mean, it just gets you into the understanding the scriptures. So if that's you, do it. It helps me. That's all my message prep, that book right there. No.
So it's definitely important also, I think, at some point to give your kids their own Bible. So a leather-bound Bible is really special. Have their name inscribed on the front cover, and make it, you know, a really special situation by, like, maybe it's a baptism and you give them a Bible for a baptism gift, or maybe it's a birthday or a Christmas gift, but make it special. For teenagers, I think the Holy Bible app is a great option too, because they can have it on their phone. It's everywhere they go. Scripture's at their fingertips. And then also, I think modeling, kids seeing you read the Bible is really important.
Yeah, I remember looking back on my mom and my dad, and I watched them go to the Bible. And we did not have a perfect family, but I remember thinking, they believe that. They really believe that. I don't believe that, but they believe that, and I'm glad they believe that. And now I believe that. So.
Okay, second book. Outside of the Bible, this book, Grace-Based Parenting, has had the biggest impact on our parenting. It's really shaped our philosophy. This is by Dr. Tim Kimmel. He founded a ministry called Family Matters. It's based in Scottsdale. So we've done workshops on this book. Okay, it talks about the 3 inner needs that every child has, which is a secure love, a significant purpose, and a strong hope. And then it helps lay out a good foundation of what grace looks like in a home, and that's giving kids freedoms. And the 4 freedoms that it walks you through is the freedom to be different, the freedom to be vulnerable, the freedom to be candid, and the freedom to make mistakes.
Very, very grace-oriented, very, very good book. So, yep.
Okay, next is The Treasure Tree. If you love personality tests, you'll love this book. This is by John Trent and Gary Smalley. Gary Smalley was a family counselor and speaker for Focus on the Family. John Trent has his master's in theology and a PhD in family counseling. This book helps kids understand different personality types, their own, and celebrate their strengths and other strengths. So it's the story of 4 animals: a lion, an otter, a golden retriever, and a beaver. And the story is that they're searching for the golden keys to a treasure tree. And on their adventure, they discover that their different character traits are some of the most precious treasures that they have. And so it's really fun to read as a family. Help your kids understand who they are and then how they relate to others. Like, how do they relate to their siblings, their parents, even their friends and teachers. And then at the end of the book, there's a personality checklist. And this book's great for kids ages 4 to 10.
And you can probably read that like in one sitting or 2 sittings or 3? 2? Okay.
Next is God's Design for Sex by Stan and Brenna Jones. Stan has a PhD in psychology, and he's also a Christian expert on sexuality. So, this is not an easy topic to have. So it requires actually a set of 4 books. This is a set of 4 books. And it's not just, the idea is that it's not just like one conversation about the birds and the bees, it's a lifetime of conversations. And so the first book in the series is called The Story of Me. It's for ages 3 to 5. And this is more like, where do babies come from? And how did God make our bodies? The second book is Before I Was Born, and this is for ages 5 to 8. And this addresses like the difference between boys and girls, God's plan for marriage, for family, conception, fetal development, and childbirth. Of course, it's all on a kid's level. And then the next book is What's the Big Deal, 8 to 12 years old. And this says about what God says about sex in the Bible, saving sex for marriage. It's a great book on puberty and all the hard topics. And then the last book in the series is called Facing the Facts. This is for 12 to 16-year-olds. And this has all the hot topics that you need to talk about. And, Ryan mentioned this earlier, but your kids you need to have these conversations, because if they don't come to you, they're going to go to their friends or the internet, and you don't want that.
Yeah. I mean, teaching on sexuality can feel like a taboo as a parent, but good grief, it's one of the greatest pieces of conversation in the public space right now. So if you're not teaching appropriate sexual ethics, then somebody else is. So I told you, like, you choose what you want. You want to parent your kids, or you want to let the school parent your kids? You want to parent your kids, or you want hope the church parents your kids, or let the government parent your kids? So no, they're your kids, and you're responsible for them. So teach them, instruct them. So these are some great resources. We'll provide, I would say, if you're like thinking, oh, I want one of those books or whatever, you can go back and listen on the recording later and get it down, or snap photos while you're here. We'll be back there after the service to talk to you. Yeah.
Okay, another book is 8 Great Dates by Dana Gresh. This is for mothers, daughters. This is 8 dates for mothers and daughters. And it's all focused around biblical truths that affirm your daughter's value in Christ, protect her heart, and help her understand her changing body and emotions. So the tagline for this book is How to Talk About Cool Fashion, True Beauty, and Dignity. And this book is geared for kids 9 to 11 years old.
Yeah, and when our daughters hit that 9-year age mark, is so cool, because this is kind of like a pathway or a rite of passage into womanhood. So like, who's having that conversation with your kids? Like, what does it mean to be a woman? Oh, I think there's a 2-hour documentary out. You could watch that. It's like, that's not going to be helpful. So these are rites of passage for biblical womanhood that you're doing over, how long does the 8 Great Dates take? Like over years or weeks or months?
I would say a year.
A year? Over the course of a year. All right. And let's talk about manhood.
Okay, next is Raising a Modern Day Knight by Robert Lewis. He was a pastor and speaker from Little Rock, Arkansas. And if the men in here, if anybody's been involved in the 33 series, he created the original material for 33. So this is a book, it's a biblical perspective of manhood with a unique approach to shaping a boy into a man by equipping him with 3 essential elements: a vision, a code of conduct, and a transcendent cause in which to invest his life.
Yeah, and I would say that's good for the mom and the dad, because you want to be on the same page, like on what it looks like to raise your little girl to womanhood, what it takes to raise your young boy into manhood. Those are foundational, great resources. Yeah.
Okay, another one is Passport to Purity by Dennis and Barbara Rainey. Dennis is the founder of Family Life based in Little Rock, Arkansas. So this is actually a kit more than it is a book, but it's a kit for a weekend getaway for mothers and daughters, or a weekend getaway for fathers and sons. And this helps create heart-to-heart conversations with your preteen while laying a foundation of purity that prepare them for the teenage years. So this is ideal for 10 to 11-year-olds. And so what I did was went and stayed at a hotel for a weekend with my daughter, and we went through this.
And Sam and I think we went camping. I think that's what we did, and it was a great opportunity for us to have that time together and talk about that. Yep.
Okay, next, Taming the Technology Monster by Sissy Goff. Sissy is a licensed professional counselor, and she's director of child and adolescent counseling at Daystar Counseling Ministries in Nashville. I love all of her content. She has a really good podcast. So the tagline of this book is 8 Guiding Principles for Raising Digital Natives. This is an easy book. You can read this in like an hour. But I think it's so important because we are parenting in a new generation. Like, we didn't grow up with all this technology. And so this is a really good, important book that will help.
Yeah, and I think probably the average kid in America right now is on technology like 5 to 8 hours a day. It's a long time. So you got to figure out, like, wait a second, is that healthy or is that not healthy? I don't think it's healthy. So, all right, let's go to the next one.
Next, Raising Worry-Free Girls by Sissy Goff, again, the author of the technology book. So the tagline on this book is helping your daughter feel braver, stronger, and smarter in an anxious world. So anxiety is one of the biggest mental health problems facing kids, teens, and adults. This is a really good book. If you are a teacher, a coach, or a youth worker, I highly recommend you read this book, and the principles can apply to girls or boys.
And especially for the parents to read that, yeah.
Yeah, and it's effective strategies for kids ages 6 to 18.
Yeah.
Okay, and last we have Boundaries with Teens by Dr. John Townsend. He's a psychologist and leadership specialist. The tagline of this book is When to Say Yes and How to Say No. So this is a great reference guide. If you've got, like, you name the topic or issue that you're dealing with, and you can look it up in the book, and they have a section on anything you can imagine, like from disrespect, lying, deception, to kids that run away. Like, this is a great reference book. I highly recommend it. So, I hope you like this book list, and there's at least something on there that you will want. All these books are on Amazon. If you're a first-time guest, we have a lot of free copies in the back corner over there at the connection corner for you to grab one. Parenting is not easy, and I feel like we're all in this together, but having great resources really helps.
Yep, I agree.